All right, these are the answers to page 159, 168, 179. First one just wants us to do a quick division. So when you do this, you say, what do I have to multiply this by to make it equal the first term that I want to do? And that would be 2x squared. 2x squared times 3x would be 6x cubed. 2x squared times negative 2 is a negative 4x squared. All right, now we're going to subtract. These go away. Negative 16 minus negative 4 would be a negative 12. Okay. Bring the 17x down and ask the same question again. What do I have to multiply this by to make it equal this? And that would be negative 4x. Negative 12x squared. Negative 4x times negative 2 is a positive 8. Subtract. 17 minus 8 is 9. Now bring that negative 6 down. What do I have to multiply 3x by to make it equal 9x? And that would be positive 3. Multiply, multiply, and look at that. We get a remainder of 0. So no remainder. That would be our answer, 2x squared minus 4x plus 3. When we work with zeros or roots, we always want to have a remainder of 0. That's what kind of confirms that indeed we are working with a root. Now, 6570 want us just to use quadratic formula. So the setup again, you have an a value of 1, a b value of negative 2, a c value of 2. So opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2 times a will give us 2 plus or minus the square root of 4 minus 8, which is negative 4 over 2. That's going to give us 2 plus or minus, if you pull that negative out, make it an I, and the square root of 4 turns into 2. We get that, and then you can divide both of those by 2, and we end up with that right there, 1 plus or minus I. So if you have the setup right and you got to here correctly, and maybe the simplifying is still a little, you're unsure about that, but don't get too panicked. We just want to see if you can kind of get that set up. Here, same idea. B is negative 4, so the opposite of that, plus or minus the square root of b squared, which is 16, minus 4 times 16 times 3, all over 2 times 16. All right, so this is going to give us 4 plus or minus this, which I believe is a negative 176, all right, over 32. All right. Now, if you want to go further, like this is correct. The negative can get pulled out and made into an I. We should always do that. That's an easy enough thing to do. If you want to break the 176 down more, it is 16 times 11. So we could get 4 plus or minus 4 square roots of 11i over 32. And then we could divide all of these by 4 to get 1 plus or minus square root of 11i over 8. This would be the final simplified answer. But again, pull this I out, and I think I would be just fine with something like that. All right. Now we get to the equations where we have to find all the solutions, all the zeros for this. So first thing we always do with this is we go to y equal, we type the thing in. So we're going to go x to the third plus 12x squared plus 21x plus 10. Okay. Zoom 6, I want to see where does this hit 0. Now it looks like it might hit at negative 1, and there looks like there might be something way back here at negative 10. Let me go trace negative 10, and sure enough at negative 10 we have a 0. So I'm going to write negative 10 as one of the zeros here. Okay, and then I'm going to just kind of look, it looks like maybe negative 1. I type negative 1 in, sure enough negative 1 has a 0 as well. Okay. Now, what we want to do is we want to divide this down and kind of see as we go. This negative 1 has the potential. It looks like it might be a double root, right? It looks like it might work twice. So I'm going to just write perhaps double next to that. And let's see if we're right. So t cubed plus 12t squared plus 21t plus 10. We're going to divide that. Now I can pick any of these that I want to work with. Let's say I work with the negative 10. So that means we're going to do t plus 10. That's the factor that goes with that. All right, what do I have to multiply t by to make it equal this? That'd be t squared. So t cubed plus 10t squared. Subtract, and we're going to get 2t squared. Bring the 21t down. What do I have to multiply t by to make it equal 2t squared? That'd be 2t. Multiply, multiply, subtract, and we're going to get 1t, or just t. Now bring this 10 down. What do I have to multiply to make it equal this? That'd be 1. Subtract, and we get 0. Again, that 0 is a good thing. You can put a smiley face in the 0 because we like getting the 0. It tells us that we more than likely did that right. What we were left with is t squared plus 2t plus 1. So we know t plus 10 is a factor, and this is the remainder. Well, if you factor that, you get t plus 1, t plus 1. There's your double root of negative 1, right? So there's our confirmation. We divided this, got there, and then we were able to kind of keep going with that as is. All right, 59. Get rid of that. We're going to type in x to the 4th minus 81. Hit graph. You're going to see negative 3 and positive 3 pop up as possibilities. If I hit trace, negative 3 for sure. If I type 3 for sure. All right, so 2 zeros right away. Negative 3, positive 3. So let's take our x to the 4th. We're going to leave a space for x cubed, x squared, and x, and then minus 81. Okay, and we'll divide it by x plus 3 to start with. So we'll do the negative 3 one. All right, to get x to turn into x to the 4th, I need to multiply by x cubed. That's going to give me x to the 4th plus 3x cubed. Subtract, and a nothing minus 3x cubed gives me a negative 3x cubed. Okay, what do I have to multiply this by to make it equal that? A negative 3x squared. So negative 3x squared times that's a negative 3x cubed. That times that would be a negative 9x squared. All right. Subtract, nothing minus negative 9 would be 9x squared. All right, what do I have to multiply that to make it equal that? I have to multiply by 9x. So 9x squared. 9x times 3 is 27x. Subtract, nothing minus 27 is a negative 27x. All right, now we can bring this negative 81 down. And what do I have to multiply by? I have to multiply negative 27. All right, so that gives me negative 27x and then minus 81, and there's our 0. All right, so there's perfect. We're all set right there. Now, what I want to do is take this now and divide it by x minus 3. All right, so I'm going to just do this. Again, sometimes these can get pretty lengthy. I'm going to do this on a separate sheet here. So we're going to take x cubed minus 3x squared plus 9x minus 27 and divide it by x minus 3. And again, we're doing the minus 3. The x plus 3 went with the 0 of negative 3. This is going to go with that 0 of positive 3. To get x to turn into x cubed, we're going to multiply by x squared. That gives us this right here. This actually goes away, zeroes out. So then I can bring 9x down, and I'm going to bring the negative 27 down. What do I have to multiply to equal that? I multiply by positive 9. And that's going to give me 9x and then minus 27. Subtract, and there's our 0. Okay? So we end up with x squared plus 9 left over. And when I think about that x squared plus 9, if I kind of come back to here, all right, well, x squared plus 9, if I set that equal to 0, that means x squared could equal negative 9. And if I take the square root, I get positive or negative square root of negative 9. Square root of 9 is 3. The negative is the I. So there's our other two zeros. So negative 3 and positive 3, but also positive or negative 3i would be our imaginary solutions. So that's why we see 2 but don't see the other 2. All right, 62. Let's put this in. X to the 3rd minus 3x squared minus 14x minus 2. Okay. And zoom 6. And it looks like on our window. Maybe we have something going on at 0. So if I hit trace 0, it's close but not there, right? Close but no cigar. If I look here, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and a half, maybe 5.5. Again, really, really close, but not happening there. All right, so at this point, we're looking and we kind of either try to guess. One of these should have worked out. So I'm actually gonna look real quick, make sure that I put this one in correctly, 62. And I can see that this was supposed to be a plus. I'd love to say I did that on purpose, but I didn't. A victim of my poor handwriting. All right, let's try this now. All right, a little better. Looks like it goes through +1. If I hit trace 1, sure enough, trace 1 gives us a 0. So we have a 0 at 1. All right, let's go ahead and work this out. So x cubed minus 3x squared plus 4x minus 2 divided by x minus 1, the factor that goes with that. X times x squared gives us that. Subtract -3 minus -1 is -2. Bring the 4x down. What do I have to multiply by? -2x. So -2x there. -2x times -1 is a +2x. Subtract 4 minus 2 is 2. Bring that -2 down. What would I have to multiply by? And we get our 0. All right, so that's what we wanted to see. What we're left with is this x squared minus 2x plus 2. That doesn't factor. I want to know when does this equal 0. So I'm going to use quadratic formula. So if we go 2 plus or minus the square root of 4 minus 4 times 1 times 2, all over 2 times 1. What we end up with is 2 plus or minus the square root of -4 over 2, which is 2 plus or minus 2i. And if we divide that, it gives us 1 plus or minus I. Those are our other two roots. They're imaginary. The only one that we see on here is the one that goes through 1. The other two solutions are imaginary solutions. 1 plus or minus I is what we get there. So those are our zeros for that. 3 zeros, 2 of them happen to be imaginary. All right, 65, we've got x cubed minus x plus 6. Let's type that one in. Hopefully I wrote that one correctly. X to the third minus x plus 6. Oh, x to the third minus x plus 6. All right, graph it. And we see that we've got a 0 maybe at -2. So if I go trace -2, sure enough, there's a 0 there. So I know I have a 0 at -2. Okay, the others appear to be imaginary. Let's see if we can find out what they are. So x cubed, we're going to leave a space for x squared, minus x plus 6 divided by x plus 2, the factor that goes with that. To get from here to here, I multiply by x squared. So that's x to the third plus 2x squared. Subtract nothing minus 2x squared is a -2x squared. Bring that -x down. To go from here to here, we're going to go a -2x. All right. Subtract -1 minus -4 is a +3. Bring that 6 down. To get from here to here, we multiply by +3. All right, excellent. We got our 0, so we know we did this correctly. What we're left with here is x squared minus 2x plus 3. All right, so let's do quadratic formula on that. Opposite b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2 times a gives us 2 plus or minus the square root of -8 over 2. Now, 8's 4 times 2, so you could write this as 2 plus or minus 2 square root of 2i over 2. The 2 is the square root of 4. That part doesn't simplify. And then we have the I. If you divide then by 2, we end up with 1 plus or minus square root of 2i. Those would be our other two solutions. 1 plus or minus square root of 2i. So there's our three solutions. One real, we saw that right away. 2 imaginary that we had to divide and get to. All right, last one, I promise, is 9x to the third minus 15x squared plus 11x minus 5. I hit graph, okay? And right away, we see positive 1 again. So trace 1, and we've got a root. All right, so there's a 0 at 1. Let's see if we can nail down what the other ones are. So I write down plus 11x minus 5 divided by x minus 1, the factor that goes with it. To get from here to here, 9x squared, 9x cubed minus 9x squared. Negative 15 minus negative 9 is a negative 6. Bring that 11x down. To get from here to here, multiply by negative 6x. So negative 6x squared plus 6x. Subtract, and we get 5x. Bring that minus 5 down. To get from here to here, we multiply by 5. And 0 is our remainder. So that's what we have. So we are left with this 9x squared minus 6x plus 5. I want to know when that equals 0. So to make that happen, we're going to take the opposite of b, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c, all over 2 times a. All right, and that's going to give us 6 plus or minus the square root. And if I do that real quick, let's see. 90 minus 36. We get 144 negative over 18. Now, square root of 144 is 12. So this is actually just going to give us 6 plus or minus 12i over 18. All of those are divisible by 6, and so we end up with 1 plus or minus 2i over 3. That's the most simplified version. Again, if you can just get it to this even, that would be okay. But I just don't want you to get all hung up on the simplifying when so much of the other process is manageable and doable. We want to make sure you feel good about that.